heard sirens and saw flashing lights outside my window today. I peered out to see multiple emergency response vehicles crowding outside of the neighboring apartment building. It's a usual occurrence. I live in a rundown part of town. Homeless drug addicts lining the streets are always vying for the attention of passersby for just enough money to get something to eat, struggling to get enough money to buy an item off the dollar menu at the combination McDonald's gas station. When the police are in my area with their blinding lights and deafening horns, it's always the same. They show up, sit there for 30 minutes, and are gone. I never see anyone go in or out of the vehicles or buildings they're arriving at. It all seems like a show, putting on airs just to save face and prove they're here to help the community. Today was no different. I didn't pay much attention after my first glance. I thought it was going to be typical. And it was. Until tonight. I was doing the dishes when I heard screams of terror only heard once prior in my life. I tried to ignore them, but they continued. Short, heavy breaths in the struggle to get air into his lungs filled my ears until I couldn't bear it. I looked up and saw a man in the parking lot of the building the EMS vehicles were in hours ago. They were long gone, and the parking lot was desolate but for this one man desperate for air in the lifeless world he was just plunged into. The dots connected in my brain for me. He was related to the event earlier. The paramedics were at the building for someone he knew. That's all I could discover with the limited information I was given. I turned off the kitchen light and watched him in the darkness. He was struggling to keep his cell phone up to his ear as news worse than death entered his mind via the person on the other end. Was it the hospital? Or someone who went to the hospital with the person he knew? His mouth would not close and his eyes would not open as pain and tears poured forth out of him like waterfalls of abyssal paralysis. He was hearing words constructed in a pattern no human should ever have to hear, but always does.
Someone you love dearly has just died. You are left here in the wake of their death, alone.
A woman approached him. She was clearly distraught, but removed from the situation in some form. She wasn't as close to the deceased as the man I'd been observing. She tried rubbing his back, but his body was numb, not from the below-freezing weather, but from the tears he wept in grief for love now lost. He trusted her. He began stumbling forward at her side as she supported him. She too was in pain, but knew he'd only hurt himself if he was alone out in the cold. Despite her own struggles, she reached out in a time of grief to help him, in a time where your body disappears and you can only look into how broken you are without this person instead of out into a brighter tomorrow. No future exists in this space. The present is TV static and you grasp at the fleeting past memories of the before days. The days when you could laugh with and love this person forever without end, where warmth was not a dream but a reality. I was looking through a literal window into his world, sadistically interpreting the communication between him and the woman for my own interest. My heart aches for him. I hope my perceptions are wrong. The world would be a better place.